All right, welcome. So, this episode, this video, we're going to do a little something different. A response to Stormwind 79 and his Don't Judge a Book by its cover thread. So, essentially, what the idea is that everybody shows off five albums with really good art, but not so great music, and another five albums with bad art, but really, really good music. So, completely subjective list, obviously, and seemed like an interesting idea. And his video was a lot of fun. You'll find a link in the description. So, here I am jumping on this thread. So, let's get started with the not so good stuff first, or rather, the not so good music first. The album art that I think is pretty cool. So, first up, Slayer, Christ Illusion. When this album came out, I thought this album art was like really, really dark, really brutal. And I was hoping for a return to form from Slayer. The music, though, didn't really live up to this. It's yeah, pretty average, forgettable, like all of Slayer's been since Divine Intervention, really. And this album was no different. I think this cover was banned in India, if I remember correctly, although that just might be my memory playing tricks. But Slayer, uh, Christ Illusion, first on the list for good cover art and boring music. Next up, a band from Norway. Their debut album is something that I still really, really like. This is their second album, Bloodthorn, Onwards into Battle. Beautiful cover art. I mean, it kind of ticks all of the boxes for your dark fantasy kind of feel. It's got the hot female warrior. It's got the monster. Very nice color palette. Very nice lines in the drawing. Yeah, really just cool art. But the music is second-rate Emperor worship at its best. So yeah, and this band actually released a trilogy of albums called the Tower Bloodthorn. The first album, In the Shadow of Your Black Wings, I think in 1996, was sort of like a blackened doom metal thing, and that was really, really good. Still holds up. The second album, they changed styles completely and went in a very Emperor direction and became kind of boring. And the third album, the final part of the trilogy, they went off into a blackened death metal feel, which was even more boring. But yeah, the out of the three albums, this is the best artwork. And it's just another really boring album. Bloodthorn, Onwards into Battle. Next up, an advertisement for why I should never browse distros later into the night. This album I never really liked when it came out. I used to have it on cassette. But somehow I looked at the art and I thought, damn, this is cool. And maybe magically the music could have improved over the since the 20 odd years it's been since this album first came out. Danzig, Blackaciddevil. Let me just show you what this is. I think this is like a record store day release or something like that. Came out last year. And thankfully it was really, really cheap for whatever reason, probably because the music sucks. But yeah, I mean, look at that art. That art is great. And the music is Danzig trying to do his best to sound like a cross between Ministry, Nine Inch Nails, and maybe even a little bit of Godflesh, trying and failing miserably. There may be a couple of songs that are all right, but Jerry Cantrell guests, I think, on one song, Come to Silver, if I remember correctly. But overall, man, this album sucks. There's no other way to put it. And I really, really liked the first four Danzig albums, but God, this one's bad. Danzig, Blackaciddevil, really nice cover art, and the music's a bit rubbish. Next up, might be a slightly controversial pick, I don't know. The debut album from Bolthro. Now, this one I got mainly because I wanted the first five on vinyl, and the cover's great. I mean, look at that classic British punky kind of cover, punk, grindcore, whatever you want to call it, and really, really cool stuff happening here. But the music on this first album, I could never get into it. They just kind of started hitting the sweet spot for me with Realm of Chaos and all the way up to For Victory. But this first one is mostly forgettable. Bolt thrower in battle, there is no law. Really cool cover up. And finally, by the late great Rodney Matthews, look at that. Tigers of Pantang, Crazy Nights. Look at that. I mean, that is a work of art. Just again, the color palette, the clean lines, the tiger, the planes hovering around it. Just, I absolutely adore this cover up. But the album itself is just really boring, sort of hard rock, I guess you could call it. They pretty much toned their sound by this time. I think this was their third or fourth album. John Sykes lays down a couple of cool solos, but overall, yeah, really boring album, but killer artwork. Tigers of Pantang, Crazy Nights. Then moving on to the good stuff. First up on the list, one of my favorite albums from last year, Jess and the Ancient Ones. Superb psychedelic occult rock. Great vocals, great musicianship, superb, really, really catchy songs, and this cover art. I mean, just dull. It really does a rotten job of reflecting the music because the music itself is so rich and dynamic, and this cover art is just really, really dull. I mean, this cover art was a real disappointment because Just and the Ancient Ones usually do really nice cover art for their previous albums, and this one I did not like at all. So yeah, that was the first one where great music and not so great art. Next up, another band from the UK, Warcrab. Damned in Endless Night is the name of the album. This is a terrific band. They're kind of like a cross or what would happen if Bolthrower and Crowbar were kind of jamming in adjacent rooms, maybe. Sludgy, mostly mid-paced death metal, really powerful music. And this cover, I mean, I really don't know what they were thinking. There's also a metallic finish to the cover, which doesn't really help matters, but you've got this floating stone structure, and you've got, I guess he's a druid. I hope he's a druid. But yeah, I mean, this is what it is. Warcrab, Damned in Endless Night. I'll leave a link to the music in the description. Check this band out if you haven't, because the music is terrific. But yeah, the album art, not so much. Next up, one of my favorite bands growing up, Anacrusis, their fourth and final album, Screams and Whispers. Love this band, absolutely love this album, but I could never figure out the cover. I mean, what is that? Just some dude holding a finger to his lips, I guess. And yeah, just another cover art that never really made much sense to me. Anacrusis, Screams and Whispers. Then, one of my all time favorite bands, especially in the mid 2000s and so, Nevermore, their second full length, Politics of Ecstasy. And yeah, I mean, this is like somebody just really went wild with the Photoshop, right? You've got that baby crying in the flames, you've got controlled written on his forehead, and the album name, the font for the album name is kind of messed up. The flames, I think they may have just taken the CD image and blown this up, probably because the back looks pretty rotten as well. But musically, man, this album rules. Maybe my second favorite after Dreaming Neon Black. But yeah, terrific album, great band, and well, just a really bad cover. No other way to put it, really. Kind of makes me a little sad because this album just rules so much. And this is the album art that they went with, that the band went with. I'm guessing it was the band. Maybe they didn't have a say in the matter. But yeah, damn, this is so bad. Finally, for my fifth pick, I'm going to cheat just a little bit and show you two albums for the price of number five. First up, probably the greatest American heavy metal band ever. Should have been huge, but never really got there. Should have been as big as Maiden and Priest, but never really got there. This is Riot, their third full length, Fire Down Under, showing off that weird ass mascot that they had, the Seal Man, or was it the Seal Monkey Man? I don't know what it is, but yeah, this is it. Terrific album, maybe their first True Blue classic album, and but before that as well, their second album, Narita, really really good album. But look at this cover art. I mean, there's Goofy and then there's Riot. Seriously, I think the cover and this ridiculous mascot was probably one of the biggest reasons why this band never made it big. I mean, both these albums, Narita, which came out in '79, I think, and Fire Down Under, which came out in '80 or '81, it should have taken Riot to the next level, but it never did. And I'm thinking it's probably because of the cover. I mean, look at that. You've got like the Seal Man, he's pink, he's wearing the kind of uh, I don't know, sort of like whatever it is that the sumo wrestlers wear, I think. And he's got a kind of axe. There's a plane. There's a bunch of bones where he's at. I mean, gee, this is this is really really bad, right? There's no other way to put it. But yeah, those are my 10 picks. If you like what you see, subscribe and comment below about your choices. And shout out to Stormman79 again for making this cool topic. And I hope you had fun watching. Stay safe, stay metal. Cheers.